Hello everyone, welcome to Artistic Atom channel. I'm Fatima and today we will be continuing the topic that we have started in our previous sessions. The topic name was material and their structure. This is our session 5 where I'll be completing subtopic 2.5. Now, the learning objectives for this particular session are as follows. In this session, we will be understanding how actually the idea of atoms originated. Nextly, we will be understanding different types of atoms that exist currently. Then we will be understanding why actually the periodic table was created. Then we will understand how metals and non-metals are actually represented in the periodic table. Lastly, we will be ending our session with understanding of the chemical symbols that we use to represent different elements. So now we will start our session with this question: how the idea of atom actually originated. Well, it all started with Democritus. Democritus was the only one who has actually come up with this idea that if we cut a matter to the smallest possible unit, we call that particular unit or the particle as what? The atom. He said that it is smaller to such an extent that we cannot divide it further. Hence, he named that particular particle as what? Atom, because atom itself means cannot be divided further. And this theory that he proposed was named as theory of atomism. This is how actually the idea of atoms originated. Now, have you ever wondered how scientists are able to observe these atoms nowadays? Well, they use an instrument called as scanning tunneling microscope. It is an instrument through which we will be able to see a proper structure of that particular atom, and it is easy to understand their structures clearly. Now, since we do not have any further study about this particular instrument according to our current grade level, we will not be going ahead into depth, but still I will be attaching the video for the working of this particular instrument in my bio, so do check that out. Now, the next topic is how many types of atoms exist currently. So, there are two types of atoms that we have come across till now. So, first type of atoms are natural atoms, and second type of atoms are man-made or artificial atoms. The name itself suggests that natural atoms are the one which are naturally occurring or they are found in nature, and artificial atoms are the ones which actually we create in laboratories. Now, there are total 94 atoms that we have actually found in nature, and there are total 24 atoms that we have actually made in laboratory. There are still research going on in determining and preparing different atoms in the laboratory. But till now, these are the atoms that we have come across. But yes, this is what was the study earlier. Nowadays, there are many more atoms which have been discovered. But according to our grade level and book, we are going to follow these numbers. Now, the most important thing that we should know is the vocabulary whenever we are learning about atoms and different substances formed out of them. So, the first term that we should know is the atom. As we discussed earlier in our previous slides, that is, atom is nothing but the smallest possible particle that we can obtain after cutting a matter into its smallest possible unit. Now, the next term is the element. When we have many atoms, as you can see in the image, many atoms connected together forming a huge structure. That particular structure is called as what? Element. Now, there is an important point that you should remember, that elements are made up of same kind of atom. This means if I talk about sodium, then all the atoms are of sodium only. So these sodium atoms, they are combining together, bonding together, and form a huge structure to which we term it as what? Element. Hope this clarifies. Now, the next term is the molecule and compound. Many of the time, students get confused between these two terms. So, let us take an example and understand it very clearly. So molecules are nothing but when we have many atoms combining together. But these atoms can be same or different. Like for example, if I have many oxygen atoms combining together, bonding together and forming a huge structure, I will call it as what? Molecule. Similarly, when I have same nitrogen atoms bonding together and forming a huge structure, I will call it as molecule. Even if the atoms are different, like carbon monoxide. So here I have carbon and oxygen. So these carbon and oxygen atoms, which are different and they combine together and form a huge structure, I will call it as what? Molecule. So this means molecules can be same kind of atoms combining together and different kind of atoms bonding together. So molecule can be both. Now next term is the compound. Here also atoms join together or bonded together, but there is a condition that atom must be of different kind. Like for example, H2O. So here in H2O, in case of water, we have hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms. So two different kind of atoms are bonding together to form a new substance, to which we call it as what? Compound. So this means the concluding statement for this particular discussion is that all compounds are molecules, but not all molecules are compound. Okay, remember this point, because molecules can be of same atoms. Okay, so if they are of same kind of atoms, we will not call them as what? Compound. So this is the most concluding important statement that you should remember. Now the next question is, why was the periodic table actually made? What was the reason? So here is the reason behind the discovery of the periodic table. Well, after the discovery of so many elements, there was a big problem. The problem was to actually organize them. So scientists have come up with an idea called as the periodic table, where they have arranged these elements into a proper systematic way in a table based on their property or a logical order. Since it followed a proper pattern, we were able to predict the properties of the new elements that have been discovered. So this was the easiest way to arrange the periodic table. Yes, indeed, there were many attempts made to make a proper periodic table. So we will not be discussing about the different steps or that have been taken earlier to make the periodic table. Currently we have the most appropriate periodic table available. For your grade level, we will be learning about 20 elements from this particular periodic table, and it was the easiest way to understand all the 118 elements that have been known to humanity till now. Now, there are few things that you should know about the periodic table. Hydrogen is the element that is the smallest mass possible in the whole periodic table. All other elements have higher mass than that of hydrogen. Next point is the periodic table consists of rows. These horizontal these horizontal lines are called as what? Rows, and we term this as, in scientific language, we term them as what? Period. There are 7 periods in the periodic table. Now these vertical pillars are called as what? Columns, and in scientific language we term them as what? Groups, and there are total 18 groups present in the periodic table. Now the next point is, as we move from left hand side to the right hand side, the atomic mass of these elements increases. This means the lithium in second period has the lowest atomic mass, and neon in the second period has the highest atomic mass. So this is how actually the pattern they follow in the periodic table, which helps us in understanding what could be the possible properties of the upcoming element next to the element that we have at the last in the periodic table. Hope this helps you in understanding how important this periodic table is. Now, the next property is, as you can see in the periodic table, some elements are marked with yellow color, whereas the other ones are marked with blue color. So what is the difference between them? Well, the difference is very simple. Yellow colored elements are nothing but the metals, and blue colored elements are nothing but the non-metals. So this is how actually we arrange them in the periodic table. So just by looking at the color code, you will be able to understand the metals, non-metals from the periodic table. Now, the next topic is the chemical symbol. Well, these chemical symbols are very unique because we should know why, from where we have, got this idea of, giving these elements with these symbols. What was the reason behind why we have not chosen some other symbol or some other alphabets for these particular elements? So, let us understand the reason behind. So, well, the reason is because we want a unique name with which we will be able to make out about which element we are talking, and it has to be as simple as knowing the name of that particular element. Like, for example, if I know the name of the element, I know what could be the possible symbol. So this is what the idea they have taken in consideration. So they have selected one or two letters from the name of that particular element, and they have make this thing sure that if they are considering only one letter from that particular element, then that has to be capital. And if they're taking two letters from that particular name of that particular element, the first letter has to be capital and second letter has to be small. Here are the examples of few chemical symbols of few of the elements. Now let us understand how actually they have taken out these names. So the names are taken from the two languages. First is the English names and second one is the Latin names. So some of the elements, their names, their symbols are taken from the Latin names, and some of the names are taken from the English names of those elements. Like for example, for carbon, this is the English name of carbon, and the first letter is been taken as the symbol. So we write capital C as the chemical symbol for carbon. So whenever we write capital C, it means that the element being written it as what, carbon. And then another example is of nitrogen. So in case of nitrogen, this is the English name, and the first letter is being taken as what, the chemical symbol for that particular element. Now, for Latin name, in case of sodium, we do not take S or SO. Instead, we take Na. So from where we have got this Na? Well, this Na has come from the Latin name of the sodium element. So the Latin name for sodium is natrium. So we have taken Na as the symbol for sodium. Similarly, for gold, it is aurum. So we have taken Au as the chemical symbol for the gold element. Hope you have understood how and why we have taken these particular symbols or the alphabet or the letters for the respective elements or the atoms in the periodic table. So the conclusion from this particular slide is we have taken these chemical symbols from the names, first or two letters of the names. Secondly, there are two languages that are being used in this naming system. First is the English naming system and second one is the Latin one. So some of the elements are named using their English names, some of the elements are being named using their Latin names. And also we are using, why we are using these symbols, the reason behind is because these symbols help us in writing the chemical formulas very easily and also to understand them, and also get a lot of information from that particular chemical symbol. Nextly, it is universally accepted, and lastly, it is the easiest way to remember the name of these elements, okay, and also to identify these elements. So with this, we have completed our session. Hope you have understood everything. Do like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Artistic Atom. See you in the next session.